Kelsey turned to Tavish and raised her eyebrow. He smiled at Amber while he toyed with Kelsey's hand.
I think I've finally convinced Thomas to come visit me here. You wouldn't believe how hard I've been trying, nor how long it's been since I've seen my twin.
Amber knew it was more important for Tavish to be in touch with Thomas than for her to be. Of course it was. Blood was thicker than all the spit she and Thomas used to swap. But her old boyfriend, and Tavish, had simply disappeared off the face of the earth 7 years ago. And while Kelsey had explained briefly that the guys had separated from their girlfriends out of urgent necessity, Amber still didn't get it. Ever the peacekeeper, Kelsey had warned her on the phone before she got here not to ask about the 7-year separation, though. And that was easy for her to say. Kelsey could afford to speak casually about their long time with no contact from the guys. She had Tavish back. Until Kelsey's call a few days ago, Amber had been almost sure Thomas was long dead. She had tried contacting his parents, but they hadn't returned any of her calls, texts, emails, or letters. She had shown up as usual at their Renaissance fair the first 2 summers, but they had found a way to completely ignore her, and none of the fair people would talk about any of their gang of friends. The whole thing was as weird as a goth guy at a shopping mall. But she wouldn't get answers by moping. And anyway, soon Thomas would be here. She would finally be able to just ask him about it, and have fun cajoling the true answer out of that cryptic rascal. So Amber smiled at Tavish as nicely as she could, under the circumstances. "Well, I hope it's true. I hope he does come see you." But they saw right through her. At least they were nice about it. Tavish smiled back at her and winked.
"Yeah, I bet you're happy he's coming to see me."
He laughed a little. Kelsey pushed her lips together in an attempt not to laugh at Amber, which saved her from being kicked under the table with one of Amber's heavy Doc Marten boots. Unlike Tavish. He took it like a man, though. Didn't even grunt. Amber wrinkled her nose at him in congratulations, and he wrinkled his back. "Well," said Kelsey, "it turns out not everyone was separated these past 7 years. Jael and John stayed together." Amber's jaw dropped. "No way!" Kelsey unwrapped her flatware from the napkin and put it in her lap. "Yep, they did. But we heard from him 6 months ago that they broke up." The waitress came then with their food, and as she placed it in front of them, and they all nodded at her politely, Amber thought about the wonderful summers they had all spent together in their teens at the Renaissance fair that Tavish and Thomas's parents ran, with the help of Mike, Gabe, Jeff, and John's parents. Back then, she'd been sure the guys had the coolest parents she'd ever met. Not only had Dal and Emily and Padder and Vange taught everyone in the Scottish Guild Gaelic, but also they had let their sons' girlfriends use costumes from the costume shed instead of having to make their own when they first joined the guild, and had to change out of the English costumes they'd made when they joined the fair. And she had spent 4 glorious, fun-filled summers with her best boyfriend ever. Thomas had Skyped with her every night during the school years, when they couldn't be together, and each new summer they had picked up right where they left off. Until the day after he and Tavish turned 18. He hadn't been there since, and no one would talk about him. Until now. Tavish and Kelsey were saying precious little, but she got the impression that badgering them for info would make them shut down, maybe even send her away. She raised her mug of ale in a toast. To reunions. Her friends raised their mugs. To